Attention, your paradigm is about to shift at the intersection of fact and reason. You're entering Kingston Country.
I'm Dan Kingston, and you're listening to the Dan Kingston Podcast.
The Biden administration is pushing a $10,000 fine and 6 months in jail if you lie about your vaccination status. Meanwhile, a federal court, the Fifth Circuit, temporarily blocks OSHA vaccine mandate. Quote, because the petitions give cause to believe there are grave statutory and constitutional issues with the mandate. That's a quote from the Fifth Circuit, and they're blocking the OSHA vaccine mandate. What do you think about a $10,000 fine and 6 months in jail if you lie about your vaccination status? You know, those COVID vaccine cards are pretty fake and easy to fake because they look fake. So what do you think about that? Can you actually have such a harsh penalty? Unusual, cruel and unusual, if you ask me. I think it's safe to say when there's so many treatments out there, and it's a disease right now that we know how to treat. It's not like the hospitals are being overrun right now. It's a completely different situation. And you're threatening really cruel and unusual punishment in that kind of scenario. We're all pretending, the left and the liberals and the panic mongerers like to pretend like we're back in the height of December 2020, when it was a real spike. And I don't think the vaccines were out at that point. They weren't. And the vaccines, of course, aren't very effective after the first couple months. They do offer you protection for a couple months. The problem is, what do you want? Endless boosters going on forever and ever. And it's like the stock market. How can you time it? How can you time it? And even if it was perfectly healthy for you, which we don't know the effects of the booster. We don't know. We know a little bit about myocarditis, that heart condition. And it looks like the risk to reward calculation, it's up to you. Okay. Don't be like Dan Kingston told me what to do. But for children, doesn't look like there's a good risk reward because you have a heart condition and children really don't get sick from COVID very easily, right? Or do they? I don't think so. I think the numbers show in the United States, overall, there's less than 700 children that have died from COVID. And of course, I'm not trying to be heartless. 700 is a lot of kids, but compared to the number of infected, you're talking about millions and millions. And so the rate of death, hospitalization, it's very, very unlikely if you're a child that you're going to have a risk from COVID. But when you look at the myocarditis risk from the vaccine, the percentages go up. And if you're talking about vaccinating every child, then you're going to have more issues of myocarditis is what that would suggest. I'm not a scientist, and I'm sure you're going to argue with me on that one. Or maybe you're one of the people that agree with me. I wonder, did you tell a friend or have you told somebody about this podcast? Because I do look at the numbers. We are quickly growing. This podcast is growing in size, which is really nice to see. Because when you tell a friend, it spreads like a wildfire. And all of a sudden, the community grows and Kingston Country gets bigger. And it could just be that some of you are now realizing that I'm doing the podcast again. I took a bit of a time off. I'm back. I'm doing it daily. And you can count on me to be there for you because somebody needs to speak up. When you have cruel and unusual punishment being threatened from Joe Biden saying he's going to throw you in jail and fine you $10,000. It's not enough that you lose your job, but also if you happen to lie about it and then you get caught. Can you believe, you're in a restaurant in America? Consider this with your family and you show a vaccine passport on your phone and you're sat at the table. Next thing you know, you have some COVID police hauling you away to prison, fining you $10,000 and locking you away for 6 months. All because the waiter or the server, whatever you're supposed to call, I think you're supposed to call them servers, saw that in his mind, you had a fake looking COVID passport and it looked fake and he reported you to, you don't think it can happen? Well, I mean, why not? If you went to Berkeley and you lived in Berkeley and you see how crazy families turning against families, friends turning against friends, people that really, grew up together and love each other, they turn on each other now. It used to be just on TV that it was all hyped up. And then, it was really never like that in real life. You're at the gym, you're with friends, you're with family. It used to be that you could all talk about it. It was never like how it was on TV, when it was so fierce, and we made fun of the politicians, didn't we? We'd make fun of them. Now, real life is like that. It's like we're all mini politicians. Like everybody walks around like they're a politician, and they need to, it's like life or death. It's life or death. And that's not the way a republic can function. You have to be able to talk to your neighbor. You need to be able to extend an olive branch to the person across the table from you and sitting right next to you, and your family and your friends. And everybody has to be able to talk openly, because it's not 1984. We don't have to worry, or we shouldn't have to worry about what we say, what we think, the ideas that we have. Not in a constitutional republic. Not when we're supposed to learn from each other. And, damn it, if you just can't talk freely, if you can't speak your mind without getting shot down, then what the hell is the point? How many people died to give the freedom that we have to speak our mind and to share what we think is our truth? And how many people died for the freedoms of the Constitution, that all of the protections that were given, that now they're trying to take away, and they take it away and they never give it back. And a lot of people are okay with giving up the freedom. I don't know if they realize that it's never coming back. And maybe they're okay with that. Have you noticed during the COVID pandemic, some people really are really afraid, and still are, never leave their homes. While other people kind of shrug their shoulders, roll up their sleeves, and got to work. And you really notice more about humanity and the people around you and their psychology by how they react to something like COVID, a pandemic, don't you? You see, some people, if they have a sense of humor, they keep their sense of humor. And other people, do people change? And I think not so much. You really don't during something like that. People stay true to who they are. But you do see people get really scared. Some people got really scared. I mean, for a while, I think everybody was, because you didn't know what this was. Coming out of Wuhan, where China's only level 4 biolab just happens to be located in Wuhan, where the outbreak started. So you don't know. It looks like it's a human-made creation. And nobody knew what that would mean, what kind of effects it would have, and people were just dropping dead in China. It looked horrifying. Of course, back then, you had the far left saying, and just liberal media in general, saying that this was just the flu and not to worry about it. Meanwhile, people were dropping dead in China. And remember, they said, don't wear a mask. They said masks are pointless. They're not effective. And then they say they are effective. They work great. You had, it can't spread over the air. Don't worry. We trust China when they tell us it can't spread over the air. And then, it spreads over the air. Only in big droplets, though. Oh, actually, never mind. Tiny, tiny aerosols. They'll change the story not based on science, but based on whatever narrative is thrown at them by whoever the overlords are at the top, the globalist elites that run the whole story, that run the whole shebang. And they decide whether it's effective to wear masks or whether it's not effective to wear masks. Oh, you thought the science. No. Would you ever consider lying about your vaccine status? Have you? Do you know someone who has? Do you think that this might change their calculation? Maybe they no longer will. Or, and do you think that this is like, okay, come on. How can you enforce this? This is like all the many laws that you can't enforce. But by making it so harsh, maybe they're saying, you know what? It's hard to enforce this. So we're going to make it so steep, the penalty so steep, that no one's going to risk it. I mean, $10,000 and can you imagine being in jail for 6 months? Have you ever been in jail? I'm not going to reveal if I have or not, but I haven't. Okay. But you could imagine it would be pretty horrible. I almost got thrown into a jail in Jamaica, actually, one time. And I had to jump off of a ship. It was like a yacht that we were on celebrating a wedding. And I got extremely ill, seasick. And at the end of it, I'm on a Jamaican beach, and they're pointing, the security guards have AK-47s, or they look like really big guns. You know, it's Jamaica. They have this private security and stuff. And it was a private beach. And there I was, I jumped off the boat and I swam to shore. And there's jellyfish, that are, stingrays. There's stingrays. Because like the ship's captain was telling, don't do it. Don't, come back. And I'm out there, swimming with the stingrays, vomiting into the ocean. I mean, I have really bad motion sickness. And even the Dramamine wasn't working. And, my friend, the groom, he jumps in after me with a life preserver. But I'm fine. I can swim pretty well, even while I'm vomiting. So I do make it to the beach, and the security guards have the AK-47s, but they let me go. I think because, I'm just vomiting. They didn't want to spend any time with me because I'm just like vomiting on the beach. They're like, just go. And, but besides that, it was a beautiful trip. And I did not end up in jail, but my friend, he said, oh man, you do not want to end up in a Jamaican jail. So have you ever been to jail? Can you imagine being in jail for 6 months because some server at a restaurant or your employer or somebody was like, this looks fake. Oh, this vaccine passport's fake. I'm going to lock up. I'm going to tell the COVID police and lock up Bill for 6 months. I mean, your employer would just have to hate you to do that to you. What about this? You hear this? A man bursts into flames after police use a taser on him. He just burst into spontaneous human combustion. It's a real thing. I guess he reportedly used lots of hand sanitizer. Police tased him, and he just went up. Have you ever heard of this? I don't think it's normal for a taser to cause somebody to spontaneously combust, but it is a real thing. There are cases throughout history of people spontaneously combusting, and now this will be added to that repertoire. Meanwhile, you have hackers are apologizing to the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia royal families. The Conti hacking group is guaranteeing that any information pertaining to members of Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates and Qatar families will be deleted without any exposure and review. See, they're afraid. This is a report coming out of Vice that these hackers, they hacked the wrong people. You don't want to hack the Saudi royal family or the United Arab Emirates. These people apparently send out assassination squads.
This is Kingston Country.
All right, listen to this. Here's Joe Biden talking down to the American people. This apparently is how Joe Biden really feels about the American people. Listen to this.
Like, for example, if we were all going out and having lunch together, and I said, let's ask whoever's in the next table, no matter what restaurant we're in, have them explain the supply chain to us. You can understand what we're talking about? They're smart people. But supply chain.
Yeah, I think people would understand the supply chain issue, Joe. Most people would. They understand that there's a labor shortage because of the handouts that we gave. People don't want to get back to work. They just sit on their butts. There's no point for them to get back to work because you made it so they don't have to pay rent. You made it so they get these nonstop handouts from the government because of COVID, even though there's a labor shortage. Why are we, you don't need to keep giving benefits when the jobs are out there. And the jobs are out there, especially in the trucking industry. We need logistics. We need people in transportation, and they're not working right now. They're not working for whatever reason. They got sick, I guess, according to Joe Biden. Everybody died because of COVID, and nobody can run anything anymore because COVID shut everything down. That's not what's happening. But listen, he continues, and I think part of this is he's projecting because he's an idiot. Listen to him continue.
Well, why is everything backed up? Well, it's backed up because the people who supply the materials that end up being on our kitchen table or in our life, guess what? They close those plants because they have COVID.
They close the plants because they had COVID. And that's his explanation. He doesn't understand what's going on. COVID is a very small part of it. Yes, for the semiconductors, I'm a car salesman. I sell cars. We used to have hundreds of cars, hundreds. And at our store, we're down to like 15 new cars. They just stopped coming. And they stopped coming because the semiconductors used for the advanced technology in those cars are made 80-90% in Taiwan. And Taiwan has that advanced machinery that can create these chips that go in your phones and computers and the cars. And Joe Biden's an idiot. He doesn't understand any of it, but you probably do. And you understand that that supply, it's in short supply. And on top of that, you have all these cargo ships that are sitting outside the port. Why? Because there's a labor shortage here in this country. Whatever's happening in Taiwan, maybe they miscalculated. A lot of reports are they miscalculated the demand because everybody thought, during COVID, there would not be a lot of people buying cars, phones, laptops. Apparently, though, everybody did buy a lot of cars. As a salesman, I can tell you, we sold a lot of cars during the pandemic, despite what the media will tell you that everybody was afraid and stayed home. A lot of people came and they bought cars, even in California, even in the Bay Area where I sell cars. But they miscalculated and they put down the production. And because of that, they have not been able to ramp back up the production. It is like the Manhattan Project to build what they have in Taiwan over here. The manufacturing capability to create these chips, it's like quantum computing. The scale on this stuff is just ridiculous. And it will be possible, but it will be like a decade-long project to be able to do what they do in Taiwan over in this country. That's why Taiwan is so important. It goes back to China threatening Taiwan. And so, yes, it's related to COVID, but this idea that people are just sick and this is all because of COVID, no, there's a labor shortage right now. When you have your grandkids years from now asking you, what did you do during the pandemic, Grandpa? During the national labor shortage? Did you take the government handouts? Were you one of the ones taking the COVID assistance and the rent assistance? And were you too afraid to go outside? Was it really scary, Grandpa? What will you tell them? Will you say no? People were afraid. People were panicked, but not me. Because while it was a risk, I was healthy and I knew I was going to be okay. Or, I wasn't the healthiest. but I took the precautions and I lived my life. Because I wasn't going to let no damn virus get in the way. Because we need people to get back to work right now. But you can't keep talking about how dangerous it is to be in public, how dangerous the long haul symptoms of COVID are, and expect people to jump back into the labor force. The environmental restrictions are also hampering transportation, and that's no coincidence. You have more regulation, you have more restrictions, thanks to the Democrats.
Kingston Country. You've been listening to the Dan Kingston Podcast.